Hey everybody, Dave here. Hope you're having an awesome day and happy May 4th. May the 4th be with you. A buddy of mine is working on an N1 or has built an N1 starship and he mailed it to me. And I am going to do a little bit different build. Not so much a build, more of a paint job. So come on, let's get painting. Alright, so here's what I got in the mail. It came in a box, but after I unwrapped the saran wrap, the whole box totally fell apart, and there was quite a few little busted pieces, so I get to do a little puzzle and put this all together. This took a little bit of just trying to find how the pieces went, but the two little jet engines, I got the tail, a couple pieces broken on this as well, but got those all glued back together. And I'm going to do a metallic spray. The thing has already been primed, so I just did the silver metallic. And this build is going to have kind of three components. Silver, washes, and then weathering. So here I am just covering all the components with a nice silver spray paint. And there were a couple little dust particles, so I did a wet sand over the whole thing and then resprayed the whole thing silver again, nice and smooth. Spray painted the engine. And here it is, all repainted and nice and smooth and looking great. The cockpit just had some white polystyrene in this little dome for the baby. So I'm painting those out silver just with the Citadel silver and making sure I hit those little edges just so everything is covered up. All right, now I'm going to paint some darker tones just throughout the ship. This will help differentiate the lighter silver from the darker. So I'm going to go into the engine portion and darken all that up. And I started brushing this piece orange and then realized, actually, I think it's red. So I repainted it red, just doing a little bit of dry brushing on there. And I'm using a Vallejo Game wash instead of my Citadel because I was able to buy a larger tub of it, so I'm just going to do a major wash over the whole thing and then just take a paper towel, wipe that down. I'll do the same over the entire body. And again, this is just a lot of the same thing. Just lay down a whole bunch of wash, take it off. Lay down some more wash, take it off. And you kind of have to judge this as you're going. How much do you want to put down? How much do you want to take off? How dark do you want it to be? So here on the little turbine, I had this clever idea. I wanted it to look like it was like had been burned. And you know how when metal turns this bluish kind of yellow? So in hindsight, I probably should have just got my airbrush out. But I thought, in my mind, oh, this will be super easy. It ended up being a total pain. A lot of thin washes and layering and brushing and blending out and then putting a dark wash over the top. I did eventually get it to work, but in hindsight, and you'll see a little bit later, I should have done both at the same time because I did this one and moved on to some other parts because I was just excited about getting in there and adding some rust and the weathering portion of it. And I used some of these weathering powders, and this is turning out super cool. These powders are really great. I know people can use pastels. I just happened to find these on clearance, and so I snagged them, adding a little bit of orange to that darker brown, and it's really just giving some nice weathering. I'm going to do the same for the little engine here. I'm going to go ahead and, again, wash, wipe it down, wash, wipe it down, kind of get it to where you want it to be, adding a little bit of that rust just on the inside rim just to give it some life. And then I was excited about, okay, I'm going to do giant weathering over the whole body, so starting to lay out one section at a time, wiping it down, and I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot. There's these little yellow markings. I probably want to paint those down first, then weather over the top. So I just put that down. Hasn't been primed or clear-coated yet, so I can just take a little blade and scrape away. Now that that's all done, you can see I've done it on the wings and down the body. Now I can start weathering the entire body. And again, it's just kind of the same thing, just laying it on and wiping it down, lay it on, wipe it down. So I was doing little sections at a time just because the wash does dry fairly quick. So again, just segment it out, take your time, think through kind of the different portions that you want to do, lay it down, wipe it off, lay it down, wipe it off until you're happy with where it is. So here's the one engine that I finished earlier, and then this was my second attempt at it, and boy, oh boy, I did not remember how to do it. So I didn't bother to film all of it, but it took me about another hour and a half to get this one to match. So that was kind of a pain, but I got it done. The seat on the inside was broken here, so I'm just gluing in those pieces and putting it all back together. A couple other little pieces here. And I got my magic sculpt out because when I glued it back together, some pieces chipped off and they're gone. So I'm going to mix up. It's a 2-part epoxy. You just mix them up. And once that's dry, I'll be able to paint right over the top of that. Going to paint the inside of the cockpit, that silver color. Did a little bit of research online, and sometimes that seat is red, but I believe in the Mandalorian it's actually green. I might be wrong, but painting the cockpit area, just little panels, putting a little blue down, and then I'm going to add a little bit of color to the little buttons and switches here. A little lime green and then an orange. These are just cheapy craft paints at Hobby Lobby. And then for the center part, I just laid down a lighter blue that was kind of watered down. And then I just took my brush and I kind of stippled around and softened that edge until I got kind of a nice little blend there. Adding a couple little extra rivets onto the cockpit because they weren't on there. So I just took some polystyrene, cut it, glued those on. I painted those little rivets silver and then just throwing a wash over the top just so everything kind of blends in and looks perfect. All right, now we've got R5D4. I got him primed up, and he's got these little red lines that go across the top and a little red line that goes around that, and I did not want to paint those. So I bought this laser jet decal paper, and I was a little leery if it would work, but I went ahead and I printed out a couple lines. I just made them in Illustrator, and this is the paper. And I wanted to share it with you because it is awesome. It was such a good paper. I've done water decals in the past, and I had to spray clear coat over it after I printed and all that stuff. No, this stuff right out of the printer, perfect. Now these little decals here, I did have to cut out the center part, so I just took my X-Acto blade, cut out the center part, and then cut out the edges, and it just slid on perfectly. Now, at this point, I was kind of done. I forgot to film the rest of this, but what I did was I painted the lenses silver, painted the little insides black, and then painted the top part red here, and then weathered it, and I called this one done.
Okay, the end result was really fun. Yeah, there's definitely some things I would have done differently, but hey, part of the process of learning, and I think it turned out great, so let's do some glory shots of these things. It's too big to do turnaround shots, but we'll do some glory shots of it, and as always, it's a great day to be a toy nerd. Happy May 4th.